Hello again, hello everybody. I am here again. It is a pleasure for me and an honor to present to you Celia Lozano, who is Tech Lead Data Science at Bosonit. With more than 10 years of experience dealing with data statistics and artificial intelligence projects, firstly during her PhD studies and later on helping companies to extract value from their data. Celia is now the tech lead data science at Bosonit and helps companies to find, learn, and make valuable decisions for their business. In other words, Celia is an expert when it comes to the analysis of how data science affects the social scope and designing a plan to digitalize and transform organizations in the best possible way the power of data. Moreover, Celia is also a member of the Committee of Spanish Association for Artificial Intelligence Science 2022. Hello, Celia. Thanks for being here today with us as a speaker of the International FemHack. I pass you the mic.
So thanks a lot. First of all, I would like to thank all the Nube team and all the FemHack people that are on the other side, because it's really a pleasure, and I think that they deserve the team, because dealing with such event with all the people not replying emails, I can imagine that it's taking quite a bit. But I really are happy to be here, and I hope that sharing my experience can help other people with the ideas, expertise, or wherever that they want, which is the most important thing.
Sure.
So if you want, I'm going to share a screen in order to start with my topic.
Sure. You can go forward.
Okay, thanks. So I hope that you see my screen.
Yeah, I confirm.
Okay, thanks. So here I'm going to talk about how data apply to real world problems, because I think that usually nowadays in news, media, or wherever, we always talk about data, how many we get, all this bunch of information, and they share us that we can solve every problem in the world. But I think that we got to take in mind how difficult it is to do that. And for sure, how is the real things that we can do, or for example, that we are able to do now, because these things change from one day to the other. So, well, first of all, I would like to introduce a little bit myself. I remember when I was studying that I always was asking all the teachers or the people in the practicum or wherever other females that I met, that what are you doing here? Why do you decide to how do you arrive to such position? And I think that sometimes it's nice to know how is the experience that other people has, in order to know a little bit more about why they decide to have such an options. So here is just only briefly a little bit about my team life. So just in 2010, I decided to do a PhD in statistical physics. At that time, all this big data machine learning thing was not such a topic, and that was not possible. So the only way to deal with a bunch of data and try to help other people was with the statistical physics. So there I started at the University of Navarra, and during these periods I have the chance to work in the University of Sydney and in Manchester in the Alan Turing Center. After that, I finished my PhD, and I decided to go on in academia, because I have this kind of way that I need to discover or help other people a little bit more. So I got a fellowship in the Max Planck Institute about intelligence system that I was in. It's a big center that is in Germany. I was there almost 5 years, and there I had the chance to work in all these algorithms, artificial intelligence, and so on. There, I was collaborating too with the University of Constance, and I have the chance to work with the DLR. DLR is the German Space Society, so I was able to do a project that was like a rocket that moved forward to the space and return, and we got the data. It was in such moment that I was just with all this academia period that I was contact for a company in order to return to Spain, that I am where that I am from, and start to work in all these data scientists by just working for a real problem that there are in companies. So there I started in Aya. Later, I moved to a clinical research organization that is Serme Sirio, and I start to develop my own team when I have the chance to do just algorithms and problems in order to solve helper problems. Later on, Bosonit contacted me. Bosonit is a really new company that is placed in the same city that I am from. So due to that disconnection, I decided to move there. And since there, I am the responsible of all the area of data scientists and machine learning there. So, but here we are talking about how data can resolve real problems. So I would like to introduce a little bit how I started that with my PhD. So my PhD was talking about encoding. And maybe this picture could explain what I was trying to do. Where my PhD is in Navarra, I don't know if the people is familiar with that, but every year around summertime, there is a fest that there is San Fermin. And the place is in Pamplona, where is the university. So here you can see how for more than 1 week, all the people dressing in white are just go there, and there is one part of the day that they have a run when the bulls run over the streets and the people just try to don't pick up with the bulls. So they go on running. And here in the picture, you can see what happened once. At the end, there was just a bull that was missing the way, and in that moment was a little bit tricky because the people try to avoid, don't try to be killed by the bull, which is something that happens from time to time. So because of that, other people start to run over the exit here. You can see in the red part, and because of that, we can see here there is a clock, there is an arch of people trying to leave the place, and there was not possible at all. So luckily, was something that it was solved quite fast, and there was not a big problem. But it's something that happened with people, and other times happen with other kind of events. For example, that happens with rocks. If you are trying to pouring wherever, for example, salt, you try to put salt in your salad, you start to shake it, and the flow of grains are not happening. They just stuck. And this is the clogging effect. And that happens when you have a granular material. And a granular material is when you have an ensemble of discrete parts that they are just formed by individuals. And because of that, they happen. It's something that not happens if you have a continuous, for example, water. So there was the way that we start to do. So for sure, we start in a minimum problem. This is physics. So we have just bits, particles, and they start just to measure how this system happened. Just we see how a silo, the particles move, and the thing happens exactly similar than the person. We have particles that the site is smaller than the orifice. However, these clocks appear. So we were just measure everything, doing simulations, trying model in order to understand what was happening. At the end, we discovered that, and even then you have this, as I said, the ratio of the particles is more than the exit that happens, and we find different forms in order to avoid this clogging. For example, just increase the rate, you can add some kind of lubricant in order that avoid that, or just put an obstacle near the exit, and that happens. But this is okay, this is the lab. And at the beginning I said, we are going to talk what happened with the real problems. So we said that, okay, we have this with grains. It's not possible to study exactly the same in a perfect manner with humans. It's not correct. So we went to a farm. Here. We moved to a farm, and there we have sheep. I think that you can see in the image. Sheep is a little bit funny, but it's an animal that is similar that people when they are in panic, because they follow the others. So if you are, for example, in a concert, or for whatever reason, the people say that, oh, you have to leave. Without not panic, the people try to follow the people that they sit in front of. And there is in the moment that sometimes happen these terrible accidents, because all the people go really fast and the same velocity, maybe sometimes exactly for the same door instead to switch on. So for that, it's a big problem. So we decided to say, Okay, we have sheep. We go to this farmer that was a super nice guy, Antonio, and we said, instead of when you are cleaning your place and you have to put food inside, that for there is the thing that they want to hurry up. The first that go is the one that has the chance to pick up the meal. So you can just record it, and with that we have the chance to measure exactly the same effects that we are able to see with a little bits. It's possible to see with ships, and there was the thing that we are want to see. Here is Antonio, and here you start to see like a green line. This line is a photo finish. We just record how is these pixels and just put one after the other. And with that, we can see where here the system starts to be not pure 2D system, but you see how all they just go exactly to the same point. And here we have these clocks. And at the end, we realize in the photo finish that we have some bands that there are all the particles or the ships together, and states when we were nothing because there were these clogging things. So due to that, we have a similar, of course, it's not one by one, similar process that the beats. We go on just trying to see all the things that we discovered that it was useful to avoiding the clocks in a pure granular matter solids to move to a real life system. And at the end, there was the project that we go on with that. So at least you see that sometimes when people are doing things in academia, there is a real effect that you can study afterwards. Or I don't want to remember all my academia results because I can imagine that they are going to quite boring, and I don't want to destroy the event just from the beginning, but only for let you know a little bit more. Or at the two pictures, they are the one that I was explaining, that it was about these bits, about the chips. Here, the third one is the results that I was doing when I was in Australia. There was a professor, Fernando Alonso, that was really strong in maths, and they said, okay, physics people always simulate everything that you have an spherical thing, but the things are not exactly the same. If we want to say what is going on with people when they are in a crowded event, people have angles because it's like this. So we decide to simulate this like this and start to know what was going on when all this Madrid Arena, I don't know if you remember, almost 10 years ago, there was in a corridor when you have people just moving in opposite directions. With that, there was at the end a clock, and there was a terrible outcome with that. So there, with this set of particles, we were able to recover what's going on with the problem that we have the particles in the both sides. On the right side, there was the project that I was doing in Manchester that it was about the segregation thing. And just at the bottom is all the things that I was doing in Germany. There, I was focused in other kind of events. Due to that, I was the chance to have more artificial theme inside things for the machine learning and so on. Here, I was working with small particles that they were able to propel themselves, and they're super small. So the idea there was like, if you have something small that you can move in an intelligent way, could be used like a drug delivery, for example. And in that moment, if you have whatever illness or whatever, you just put a bunch of particles and maybe you can just put drug and they go just only in the place that you need. So we were just trying that with Gravity Zero. Due to that, I have this DLR project, and we were doing all these things. And as you can see, in that moment of my life, I discovered that I like to design a cover picture too, because it's really important how do you explain things to the audience. Sometimes it's not that you are in your lab, your computer, doing all the stuff. You need to see with few words and just a proper meaning what is going on with the project. So that was the thing that I was doing. Now I'm currently writing papers about all these machine learning things and so on. So maybe in the future I have the chance to talk a little bit. But now we move forward to what kind of topics we can solve in industry. I'm going to talk about a little bit about Bosonid. Bosonid belongs to a group that is named NWOR, and it's a bunch of companies, 3 companies, that started almost more than 10 years ago. There are with different kind of values. in the point that we have the first one, that there was NFQ, that in Spanish is named Enfoque, that is more a company just talk about the knowledge about the functional consulting approach. Afterwards, we have Enforce, that is more for services when you have to apply directly the solution. And Bosonic, that started just with the idea for data and tech. If you can help people just with the pure data that they have to solve the service that they have, is going to be a nice approach. What is important of that? That we have three companies that you can have exactly in the same client. You have all the grades that you can help with that, because you know how you know how to apply, and you have how to implement forever. The important thing, and is the thing that one of the things that I like about this company, is that the values that they have, because I think that sometimes it's not that you are doing whatever, it's important the culture that is inside, because you can have at the end there are more things as a pure salary. You need to have a team afterwards that they have the values and about your ideas that you have. So for them there are this one that we only want to have more, we want to learn more, want to share with each other, and start to help the other people. So now we are in more than 10 countries. For sure, we are mainly at the end is more Spain, but now we have office in Miami, in Brazil, Mexico, London, and so on. Whereas, as I said at the beginning, one of the biggest quarter is in Logroño, La Rioja, where I am from. So it's happy to see that you can have a high quality work place in wherever region. Sometimes it's just not needed to be just in the big cities. When there is the batch of information, you can have whatever. And the other thing that I would like to say is that it's not like I said that this business, tech and process things, we have other things, because we have an accelerator of startups that is quite cool, because we have more than 5 other companies that we start to help from the beginning how to create and get a solution. And the other part is Next Gen. Next Gen, I really enjoy that because it's our talent department. And with that is that you have like a small center just to teach all the people. Due to that, all my academia background is nice because you have the chance to go on from the beginning to this, from the beginning of a person or whatever member that is, they can follow to start to develop themselves, which is the most important. We are persons that we need to earn. That we need more knowledge, and in this kind of world that the things change from one day to the other, it's important to study and how to process that. About the sectors that we work, mainly is banking, is insurance, real estate, and the main corporates. So we have different steps. I am in charge of the artificial intelligence. We have all these advanced analytics and machine learning process, but we have the pure data management, visualization, big data, cloud, cyber, IoT, that I'm going to give an example about all this TIC process and just the pure development. So if we want to talk about what happened with the data science things, due to the confidentiality, is not able to just to present just an end-to-end process, just that, oh, we were doing this, we used this data, and we was the outcome. So here, sorry, but I'm going to try to explain you the kind of things that we do in order that you get the information, but I don't have the chance to go more in detail. So the top of the things that we are doing in Bosonic, one is the fraud and risk detection. I think that this is really important because everyone can understand that when you are in a bank or other companies that they have to move some kind of money or something that is important, we would like that everything goes clear. And with goes clear, we would like to say that is that there is a regulator that has to verify that the security of your money or the transactions, they are following the law. This is important because we always have the chance to read about corruption, about other processes that there are not 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 the best way. So with that, before there was some kind of rule-based analysis. That means that you have certain roles that you have to follow in order to decide if some kind of transaction is going okay or not correct, in order that this regulatory center is going to study that. With machine learning, we can do something more, because there we have the chance to train with a bunch of data that we know all the people about what kind of transfer of moving moments or some kind of examples are something that you look and say that something is wrong there. You have the chance to train this model, and in that moment to get better results. Because at the end, sometimes it's not just the number of alerts that you are able to say that, I think that we have 100 cases that we have to study. Maybe it's better to say that we have 50 and we are sure that there is not any false negative, and in that moment we are making people losing time. Other thing that we are quite keen on is dynamic pricing. Sometimes when we talk, and this is applied just for retail and for banking things, how you select how is going to be a price is something that is a little bit tricky, because sometimes depend on other factors. And it's the idea just to make sure that always the customer has exactly the best chance to get a project. The third one is forecasting, that I can imagine that is just the big punch usually for machine learning process. When we have all the information, it's always nice to know what is going to happen in the future. And this is happening just for many systems. It could be just a company, an industry that want to control how is the demand of the process, because they have a factory. For example, they need to know the things that need to buy, because the orders that they are going to have, and what they need to be the output. So with that, you need to do a proper forecasting. And with that, you are going to save money, because you are not going to waste your materials. You are going to take care about your people. The employees are going to know in a better way the schedule that they have to follow. And for sure, with that, you increase the productivity of your system. The fourth example is the social graphs. This is something that we have all in mind when we are talking about all this social media, is how people are connected and where are the relationship between them. This is something that we see just for some kind of, for example, in Facebook and so on, is something that you can move to other examples. For example, in a bank or in a company, you can say how there are relationships due to that the money that they move. And with that, you have an idea how these companies are connected, or whether they have a strong relationship or not. And with that, you can make offers between them. The fifth example is the customer segmentation. With that, we can provide to the final user, that is the client, for example, appropriate advertisement, a better use of the system, because not all of us are exactly the same. The good thing about that is that due to that, with the variables, that for sure they are using in a proper manner, we can give a better output of the system. That if there was not any kind of artificial intelligence above. Optimization progress is always good to know how it's going to be the minimum value that is possible. Image recognition is something that is a huge topic nowadays, because it's possible to see like cars that they are just driving by themselves. But with image recognition, for example, you can do just a picture, just to start how is for example, a picture of your shopping bag. And with that, to know where are the things that you are carrying on. And if these things are just flexible, just localized, it's not needed that a person is just doing this kind of job manually. And with that, you are going to save time, and with that, more productivity. For sure, all these language processing examples are currently quite a hot topic, because it's other kind of information. We usually were focused for years about only numbers, but words, our sound, or whatever, is just other part of this data thing. About cognitive analysis, we are doing a tool in order to make cognitive things just with a document, or with a document, just create a pre-classification system, or just try to anonymize this thing. And for sure, at the end, we need to do the MLOps. We have to deploy properly all these models and make that scalable in solution. But just for the last part, I would like to explain you a real case that is possible to give you a little bit more detail about the things that we can do in data. Recently, Bosonic and a fund about this European funding, because of that is all these logo themes, and Sedeti to create in the University of Murcia a smart campus. Maybe some of you are familiar when they talk about smart cities. Smart cities, in this case, is going to be on a smaller scale, so it's going to be the small university campus of Murcia is going to be highly connected, with the idea that if you just put a lot of sensors, that in this case is going to be just ruled with the IoT, is one of the companies of the group, Elliott Cloud, is the one that is in charge to put all the system all over the place. You can just create a better outcome of what is the needs of the users. Because if we are just fully connected, is the idea to say that, okay, now that we have that, what is going to be there? And here I'm going to explain some cases. I think that we have to think a little bit more about this kind of topics, because sometimes people say that, oh, everything is connected, everything is intelligent. But one of the examples that we are going to see, I like it because they are a little bit more in the green mentality. Sometimes we don't need, for example, to be in a building, because it's December, we need to put the all the warmth of the building and 25 degrees, because nowadays there are sometimes that in winter time there is a really warm day, so you don't need to heat up so much a building. It's something that we can understand. Now imagine if you have all the sensors and you have all this information over years, you can do a forecasting of the system in order to control if you start to have how is the weather outside, how is the temperature, how many people are in the building, how you need to heat up a room. And with that, you create a solution that is more efficient. And this idea of all the solutions that I'm going to tell you that we are doing in Murcia are in sub-managed in order to make more a green area of the system and in the way to connect better people with their environment. So the first one, I'm going to start with the orange one, is this one that I mentioned, this monitoring the environment parameters of the building. It's not the same if we think about a university. What happens when you are in Monday than in Saturday or Sunday? You don't need exactly the same parameters in the building. And it's not the same if you have all these lessons just in the morning, afternoon, during night, it's terrible. I have to say that we have to be careful that there are other people that are not a student working. I remember when I was at the university, and if you want in Christmas time, you need to put 2 pullovers in order to don't get frozen. So it's not needed to go in such a situation, but we have to realize that what kind of conditions are in a building in order to maintain this for us all. Other important point is that the energy efficient is not just how the system is built, it's just about how to connect everything in a proper manner and instead to save the energy of this consumption. And the third example that I'm going to explain in this slide is something that is more simple to understand. Is the smart waste management. If we control all the waste there, how is the volume, the weight, and so on, we can create a proper way to clean the system in a better way. It's not that we have a timetable with the people saying that every day you have to move to a room or you have to clean a pane at that time. We can control how is the system, and in that moment just move only for certain places. Going on, we can just have a better control about the things that are needed in the system. Smart lighting, with that we just control how, depend on the weather the weather condition and the system needed, we can control in some place has to need more light, less light, or whatever. It's not needed to go to street at 10 in the morning and see that there are light quantity where there is the sun. And one of the coolest projects that we are developing there is the simultaneous translation. Nowadays, we are in a really global place when we can have people with different regions with they share different language, and for sure they need to have a better communication between them. So we are developing a system in order that they have the chance to talk with each other, but for sure taking care about the privacy of the system. For that, we are developing there just with a federated learning system that is able to keep the data in the app of each individual, and with that just make the connection. And with that, we make sure that they have to take care about the good things, that they are to be connected, but the privacy to have their own data. Just the last three cases, parking control. This is quite simple, depend on the events, depend with people. They can just send people to the app the information that if something is just fully booked or not, in order to reduce the mobility. It's not needed to just go by car if you know in advance that the system is just totally full. The same to make a smart irrigation of the system. Murcia is a region that, because of the weather, for sure they need to add water in the system. But we have to be sure we're at the better time to do this, and depend on the environment, the weather condition, and so on. And the last thing is the water. Water is one of the most important things that we have in our life and in our world. It's the new petrol thing, and we have to be sure that we are not making not the proper use of that. So because of that, this kind of put sensor and control that the system or know the needs of the problem in order to cover and set the water in the region that is needed each time. So with that, I hope that everyone understand more or less have a brief idea about all the things that data could have for us, and try to help people to have a better life. And with that, thank you a lot for your attention, and now is room for questions.
Thank you very much, Celia. It has been a super interesting presentation. Have you stopped sharing your screen? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So the public wants to know what language or platform did you use for your simulations?
Yes. Well, at the beginning, I have to say that in academia, at the beginning, I was using MATLAB. You know, is the typical thing that you discover that it's not useful at all in companies. So at the beginning, I start playing around with R. I have to say I like it. I come from a more background statistics, so R is a really nice thing. But nowadays, I only focus in Python and PySpark, because you need to have a really productive system. And for sure, PySpark, if you are dealing with a huge amount of data, is the only way try to do a system working and running in a proper way. And I try to use open source libraries too, because for sure there are always, you have a solution that you have to pay, but if there is like an open community that can enjoy a system that is a solution that at the end is ended, I think that is always nice.
Okay. This is a question coming from myself. Do you listen to me?
Yes.
Okay. This is a question coming from myself. Did you find difficult to change from one language or platform to another? I mean, it has been part of your formation within the companies, within the universities, or it has been part of your free time formation, I would say.
I have to say that if I am working in one kind of language and I switch to the other, I start to get a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
I remember when I switched for R to Python, that suddenly I want to create a variable and I just put a slash wherever, and it's like, no, this is not working. This is not the way, and I receive an error message.
Yeah.
And it's the same sometimes when you go from Python to PySpark, that you start to have some capital letters that you forget, and so because of that, I would like to prefer to use more one, because with that I have the feeling that I have less errors, because you get used about the things that you want to do. You don't think about what is the language, is the thing that I happen. No, I know the things that I want, and in that moment it's like, okay, here is this language. I need just to create a column and move in such a direction. So because of that, I prefer don't switch, because I can imagine that everyone has gets with the same kind of problem. But about how to deal with that, I have to say that maybe for academia, I was used to learn always. But if I have to do that in the moments that I was usually in my free time, because when you have to go to a job, a project, you know that you have to do
Yeah.
that thing. And the day has a proper timing, and it's not sometimes easy just to go to a client and say, no, I need now 3 hours to understand how to use this library. You have to do in other time. I think that this is a pity.
Okay, this is another question coming from myself. During your conference, you said that, for example, you were with farmers in order to perform different studies, and that a really important thing is how to transmit the information to the audience, because it's your project, you are dealing with all the data, you are dealing with all the code, the algorithms, but it's difficult to translate that to a user language. I would like to ask you, it has been difficult for you to know how to translate the results or the algorithms of your studies to the user level?
Yeah, I have to say that from the beginning, I always try to do the things that I do. Is the idea that I can explain that to my mother. If she
Exactly.
understands the thing that I am doing, and it's not like she's just working at the computer, I am happy with that, because I think that it's not sense just to do like something like super difficult that you are the only one in the world that is able to understand that and say that it's good. No, you have to make the proper translation. It's true that it's not always possible, because sometimes even that you low the level, you go and you move to the farmer and say that, look at, I have this graph, and maybe he never saw a plot before, and say like, what is going on. In that moment, I remember that I have like a small tool, like a small silo, and saying like, here I have my particles, whatever, and I see the clock. I say, I saw that here, and it's like, okay, now we understand. We are talking about the same language,
Yeah.
and we are able to find a way to make the solution.
I really like your answer, because I try to do the same. To explain to my mother what I'm doing, and if she's able to understand, that means that it's at user level. I have another question coming from the public. What is your advice for those who want to start in the data science and data engineering?
So I would say that at the beginning, they need to study a little bit about the statistics, because it's the best way to know what is going on. People usually forget and think that a mean is an average thing that always happens. You have to get a little bit the feeling of that. And afterwards, just play around, because there are a huge bunch of communities that can help each other. There are nowadays quite a lot of public data that is nice to play around with the things. And with that, is the best way to learn is just enjoying the things that you are doing. The good thing about data science is that we have a normal life examples that you can get. And with that, you have the feeling that you are doing something in the proper way.
Okay, great. Another question coming from the public. What do you use for the data gathering in the University of Murcia project? How do you manage the flux of data?
So we are dumping everything in the cloud. So for that, we have the help of a Vodafone team in order to create the proper connections, because you need to create some kind of partners and these things in order to get information. The IoT system is the one that we develop by ourselves. So there are just sensors just to collect the data and send to the cloud. And there we are in the place that we are doing all these algorithms.
Okay. Another question coming from the public. What are the maths behind your glowing research? Do you use a deterministic or a stochastic framework? I don't know if I really pronounce well that.
Yeah, yeah.
Deterministic, yeah, okay. Or a stochastic framework.
Yeah, is the last one. There was a pity there was not just a fixed result, because at the end, we're in this statistical thing. It was a complex system. It's a process similar than the weather. You don't have the chance even that you know all the variables, just with all the details, all the funds, to know what is going to be exactly the weather tomorrow. In this case, we were doing something more in a chaotic way. And in other point, we have a some kind of the distribution of the process follows a power law results. So power law, for the ones that are not familiar, is like if we take a look about how is the population or the height of the people usually go to a normal distribution. Power law is something that you have a huge amount of people that go really high and really small that decrease. It's exactly the same that when you try to predict what is going to be a volcano eruption. Now it looks like this quite frequently due to La Palma, but it's something that really happens really from time to time. So try to make some kind of statistics of that is quite tough. And there was exactly the same kind of maths that I am using for my clogging thing.
Okay. Another question. How many years did the investigation took you? I guess it refers that in average, the investigation part of the projects, how much time does it take?
Well, depend on the project for sure, because nowadays when you start to have like more expertise, there are things that you can use for other projects that make your life a little bit easy. But for sure, at the beginning, just to know the proper benchmark of the system, because sometimes it's even a problem when you have to think about a company that they say that here is our cluster and here are the libraries that we can use, because with that you're a little bit concerned. It's not possible to do whatever you want. You have some kind of limitations. And all the part of the future engineer, for the ones that know here in the audience that they are doing data scientists, at least takes longer. Cleaning the data and doing the future engineer is taking the 80% of the project time, because sometimes you are doing something, just run the model and return to make the stuff, and it's in the moment when you are learning. So really the process of learning and preparing is almost the full project until when you just give the final docker with the data.
Okay, fine. Another person is asking, I have if I haven't studied academic mathematics or statistics, can I become a data scientist? If yes, how it is better to start studying data science?
So I really don't think that you need the title for sure. There are things that you can learn over time. It's not everything the title, but for sure you start to need a little bit about the knowledge. There are books. There are kind of online academies that now, due to that they are so popular, luckily they reduce the pricing. So with that, it's more easy just to start there. And in that moment, it's easy really to get a proper level in a fast way. The things that takes longer is just to have the feeling about the data. That I really think that maybe is one of my biggest point. At the end, I was dealing with data for so long that I see a distribution of an example and I have an idea about the things that I have to transfer the data. But it's something that is just timing thing. People just can go on, and there is not going to be a difficult after that.
Okay, that's a question coming from myself. Would you recommend some specific language for someone who's thinking about starting on data science? Some
Python.
specific platform, Python?
Python. If you, I remember at the beginning DataCamp, where I am making just a free advertisement here for there, but I really think that it was quite useful from the beginning, because you have just a terminal, you have to play a little bit around with the things. After that, if you just can move with, for example, platforms like Kaggle, when there are a bunch of users that they have the solutions, you have the data, you can see a kernel about how other people solve the problem. Because I really think that we learn with others.
Yeah.
When you can get a solution, and when you saw the one, and I said, this is better.
Yeah.
Or maybe you say, no, I was doing this kind of approximation, and because of that, this. And this is a really nice. And with Kaggle, you have the chance to go on with the process in a good way.
Thank you very much. And I think it will be the last question. I guess that in all the projects that you have been involved and in the current projects, they are kind of international projects, right? Do you confirm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how is it to be in an international project? Is it difficult to deal with different nationalities, different methodologies? Because at the end, each country has some particularities by working on some files. But do you find that a challenge, a real challenge, or not?
Well, I have to say, nowadays, maybe I don't realize so much, but before, when I was working abroad, they're saying that when I was living in Germany, you realize the way that you have to ask for the information. All the people has different culture.
Yeah.
It's not the same. They need maybe to ask just all the items before, just wait in advance in order that you receive something, or these guys in the way that they are dealing. And the same way you are talking about a project, there is a really trust relationship. You really need to know how to give the information in a proper manner in order that they trust you. We have to take in mind that with data science consultant, you are dealing with a company that is giving all the data, all the information that they have, in order that they tell you, like, could you help me? It's really a really rich, wealthy thing, and it's a really trust information. So in the way that you have all these interactions should be in a proper way. But for sure, it's totally different sometimes in a more relaxed way, that there are some countries, others that they are more strict. If, for example, the ones that we are talking about, this European project, we have different kind of people inside of the whole Europe, and it's not everyone is exactly the same. So it's just to be patient, try to be nice and formal in each email. But yes, it's something that at the end you are dealing by yourself.
Great, Celia. Thank you very much for your presence here today. It has been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. We will talk later on once the event is over, but thank you very much for that. Now we will take some minutes of resting until the next conference, which is Idoia Martí. If you want to see the other conferences, Celia, you are more than invited, you know.
For sure, you are going to receive my questions.
Exactly, it's what we want. So thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. And guys, see you now in a few minutes.
Take care.